we gonna hold elections in the hollow of my chest? A democracy of feelings, putting hope to one last test. Despair is the incumbent, running on a platform of known, promising the safety of a heart that's turned to stone. Anger is a challenger, with fiery pointed speech. It promises clean burnings, a destructive final reach towards a kind of freedom. It gets cheers, but not enough to overthrow the numbness. All that heavy padded stuff, and the ballots are all blank now, slipped into a box of bone. A referendum with no voters but myself and me alone. I count the vote, I call the race for the same old sorry ghost. A landslide for the status quo on this desolate, savage coast. Melancholy runs a quiet campaign, subtle and so deep it doesn't want to win. It just wants promises to keep, of quiet constant weeping, of a gray and gentle rain that never lifts but never ever sharpens into pain. Acceptance didn't even bother getting on the stage, and knew this electorate was trapped in a different age, where moving on felt treasonous, where letting go felt false. A civic duty swallowed by these deep emotional walls. And the ballots are all blank now, slipped into a box of bone. A referendum with no voters but myself and me alone. I count the vote, I call the race for the same old sorry ghost. A landslide for the status quo on this desolate, sad coast. So I'll be the corrupt official of this solitary state, certifying losses, sealing my own fate. Election after election, with the same foregone result, until the system crumbles and the final jolt. And the ballots are all blank now, slipped into a box of bone. A referendum with no voters but myself and me alone. I count the vote, I call the race for the same old sorry ghost. A landslide for the status quo on this desolate, sad coast. On this desolate, sad coast, where I am the most, a host for a ghost. I've started knotting ropes from threads I pulled out of the seam of the shirt you left behind, the one you wore inside my dream. Last Tuesday, each small fiber holds the memory of your shape, the curve of your shoulder, your impossible or escape. I braid them into something that will never bear away. A decorative nothing, a sad collaborative fate. Between my restless fingers and the ghost within the cloth, weaving an anchor made of loss and wrath. And sorrow, it's a useless skill, this tedious tight art. A project for a prisoner, a blueprint for a heart that's building its own cage with meticulous slow care, from the very fabric of the love that isn't there. And the rope is getting longer, crawling on the floor like a snake. It can't climb any walls, can't bid, it won't hold for my sake. Anything but the notion that I'm tied to your old things. A sailor without ocean, on the deck the sadness brings her. I measure it in fathoms of the depth I cannot sound. The leagues of missing you that wrap my universe around. In a choking gentle spiral, it's a lifeline with no end, that doesn't lead to safety, only back to where I've been. Inside the empty closet, to the hanger and the shelf, talking to a garment as if it were yourself, asking it for answers, for a scent, for a sign, getting only silence and this twisted twining line. And the rope is getting longer, coiling on the floor like a snake. It can't climb any walls in it, it won't hold for my sake. Everything but the notion that I'm tied to your old things. A sailor without ocean, on the deck the sadness brings. So I'll be the rope maker of this stranded inland ship, twisting grief to cable with a firm and practiced grip. A craft that leads to nowhere, a product without you. But to prove my dedication to a vanishing excuse, and the rope is getting longer, coiling on the floor like a snake. It can't climb any walls in it, it won't hold for my sake. Anything but the notion that I'm tied to your old things. A sailor without ocean, on the deck the sadness brings. On the deck the sadness brings. My heartstrings. These things with wings. I've begun conducting symphonies played by the dripping sink, the metronome of heartache that I've started now to think holds the rhythm of the universe, or at least of my own hell. A slow and steady percussion where the lonely stories dwell. First chair is the faucet with its clear and perfect blink. Second is the echo that makes all the listeners think. There's more to it than water. There's a melody of life the car beat, riding in the draft, a high and ugly hum on a broken, sorrowful craft. But the poles they final left, but the film's already lost. Just the same four notes are missing, paid for at such cost. The wind outside provides the wood prunes, a mournful wandering air that slips beneath the window with a sense of deep despair. It whispers through the keyhole things I almost understand about letting go and stillness in this unforgiving land. I am the conductor with a baton made of bone, directing this cacophony of being here alone. I cue the Phrygi's orchestra, its low and throbbing drone, the masterpiece of solitude that I have made my own. And the sands are all the car, blood digging in the draft, a high and awfully hum on a broken, sorrowful craft. Like the pose they finally left, but the fame's already lost. Just the same four notes are missing, paid for at such cost. So I'll raise my arms at midnight in the kitchen's yellow light and lead the bleak musicians through the movements of the night. A maestro of the mundane, of the ordinary ache, for an audience of shadows, for my own insanity's sake. And the sands are all the call beats, riding in the draft, a high and ugly hum on a broken, sorrowful craft. But the pose I finally, but the fame's already lost. Just the same four notes are missing, paid for at such cost. Paid for at such cost. A holocaust of all I've lost and tossed.
Children chase a ball across the lawn, their laughter like a language that I feel I have forgotten. I used to dream of simple things, a future bright and clear. Now the future's just a room I'm living in. Year after year, the mailman brings the circulars, the bills and nothing more. No postcard with your writing coming through my metal door. Keep your favorite coffee in a canister on the shelf, a relic of a normal life I can't maintain myself. And the leaves are turning again, a fire they can't sustain. They curl and brown and let go in the cold and soaking rain. I know I should be like them, the
nuestra letra coherente con rima y corazón. The alarm clock rings the same way on 100 mornings now. A solitary protest from the pillow on my brow. I make a single breakfast on a plate that feels too wide, and swallow down the loneliness I carry deep inside. I see your ghost in mundane places, in the way the light will fall across the kitchen counter, throwing shadows on the wall that almost look like you there, pouring out your cereal, a phantom of the ordinary, a bittersweet surreal. And the world moves on without you. It's a cruel and jigger truth. The traffic keeps on flowing, and they keep repairing the roof of the cafe down the street now, where we meet on rainy days. It's getting some new windows to reflect different ways. I try to make new memories in places we never went, but every unfamiliar street feels borrowed, poorly lent from someone else's story who still knows how to begin, while I'm just reading backwards from the middle to the end. My friends all talk of futures, of the things they hope to do. I smile and nod and calculate the days since I had you. My future is a replica, a faded carbon copy of a past that's growing distant, hazy, choppy. And the world moves on without you. It's a cruel and jetta truth. The traffic keeps on flowing, and they keep repairing the roof of the cafe down the street now, where we meet on rainy days. It's getting some new windows to reflect different ways. So I'll keep setting one plate, I'll keep facing the empty chair. I'll be the curator of this quiet, solid air, where the biggest exhibition is the space you left behind, and the only thing that's growing is the peace I cannot find. And the world moves on without you. It's a cruel and gentle truth. The traffic keeps on flowing, and they keep repairing the roof of the cafe down the street now, where we meet on rainy days. It's getting some new windows to reflect different ways, to reflect different ways. Through the haze of my days, in a daze. The evening finds me listening to the house breathe inside, the settling of floorboards, the wind whispering goodbye. I don't turn on the television, don't pick up the phone. I've grown accustomed to the feeling of being here alone. I cook a simple dinner, just enough to get me through another night of missing every single part of you. The silence is a blanket, it is heavy and it's deep, and it rocks me into promises I know I cannot keep. And the stars are hidden tonight. city gray. The moon is just a suggestion that's 100 miles away. I navigate by memory, but the maps have all been burned, and every landmark clues me back to the lesson I have learned. I sometimes think I hear your key turn in the bolted lock, a trick the memory plays when it receives a sudden shock of realizing once again that this is how it is. A life composed of moments that are only mine, not his. I wear the ring you gave me on a chain around my neck, a cold and metal secret, a delicate shipwreck of a love that sailed for nowhere on a sea that had no tide, and left me on this island with the nowhere left to hide. Love city great. Oh, the moon is just a suggestion that's 100 miles away. I navigate by memory, but the maps have all been burned, and every landmark leads me back to the lesson I've learned. So let the house keep breathing, let the wind continue low. I'll be the patient keeper of this everlasting home. To joy, to new beginnings, to the turning of the page. A solitary figure in a self-constructed cage. And the stars are hidden tonight, city gray. The moon is just a suggestion that's 100 miles away. I'd navigate by memory, but the maps have all been burned, and every landmark leads me back to the lesson I've learned. To the lesson I have learned. Grounded fancy for a woman on her own, watching other people's travels from a heart that's turned to stone. I check the weather in the cities where I think you might now live, a pointless private ritual I've nothing left to give, but this attention, this obsession with the details of your hair, as if knowing if it's raining over there could lessen my despair. And the clouds are just Rochester-testing in the sky that's grown too vast. I see your face in every form that's slowly drifting past. I board a plane this instant with no baggage and no plan, but the destination's secret, and I don't know life's adventures. My world has shrunk to window panes and contrails drawn in chalk on the slate of heaven, while we bury our old talk beneath the soil of distance and the roots of something new that you are doubtless planning in a different morning dew, while I'm still cataloging cumulus and stratospheric streams and building you a kingdom in the geography of dreams. And under clouds are just Rorschach testing in the sky that's grown too vast to see your face in every form that slowly drifting past. I'd board a plane this instant with no baggage and no plan, but the destination's secret, and I know where I stand. So I'll be the air traffic controller of my own grounded soul, directing phantom landings towards an unattainable goal, watching as each silver bird becomes a speck and disappears, taking with it another of my imaginary years. And the clouds are just Rorschach testing in the sky that's grown too vast. I see your face in every form that's slowly drifting past. I'd board a plane this instant with no baggage and no plan, but the destination's secret, and I don't know where I stand, and I don't know where I stand on this land of quicksand. Command. I've started leaving one light on to battle back the night, a 40-watt defiance of a darkness not quite right. It casts a feeble halo on the arm of your old chair and makes a ghost of no one in the unforgiving air. I watch the moss beat softly at the windows of the side, drawn to a feeble promise where the shadows can't abide. I understand their longing for a bright and certain thing, even if that brightness has a weak and flickering sting, and the bulb will burn out sooner for the constant vigil kept of light against the vast and overwhelming weight of a night that holds no moonlight, of a sky that holds no star, just the lonely single beacon of precisely where we are. And the bulb will burn out sooner for the constant vigil tip, a symbol I can't ignore, of promises unkept that I write my heart like did if I thought it shaded deep. But the currents grow so weak now it can barely power a dream. It can barely power a dream, or so it seems. A theme extreme. I count the repetitions of the neighbor's barking dog, a steady metronome stuck in a mindless fog. It marks the empty hours in a language sharp and shrill, a perfect outside mirror of my own internal ill. I've named the distant sirens that cut through the evening air, each one a little story of a different kind of care that's needed somewhere else for someone else's pain, while mine sits here untreated, a persistent, quiet stain. And the clock upon the micro-do kicks a false near 12, with that lyrical compassion that time has lost its rule. In this apartment I don't fix it, let it flash its lonely light, a constant solace when the shrug that the present's passing by. I track the drip, drip, dripping of the faucet in the sink, a liquid punctuation to the things I dare not think, each drop a tiny hammer on the anvil of my peace, ensuring that the aching will not, cannot find release. The world outside my window is a silent, moving screen of people with their purposes, of places they have been. I am the stillest pixel, the one that never moves, the broken part, the picture constantly disapproves. And the clock upon the micro-cube blinks a falsity 12, it's a logical confession that time has lost its root. In this apartment I don't fix it, let it flash its lonely light, a constant solace when the grid that the present's passing by. keep counting barks and drips and sirens in the night. I'll be the census taker of this unending blight, where the only thing that's growing is the list of sounds I hear that tell me I am trapped inside a slowly dying year. And the clock upon the micro crew kinks of Falsendine 12, a chemical confraction that time has lost its root in this apartment. I don't fix it, let it flash its lonely light, the constant soulless vinaigrette that the present's passing by. With a sigh, goodbye, my alibi. It doesn't warm my skin, it just illuminates the mess that I am living in. The dust on every surface, the unwashed coffee cup, the still life of a woman who has simply given up. I hear the garbage truck come roaring down the street at dawn, a violent grinding ritual, and then it's gone. It takes away the remnants of the days I can't erase, but leaves the heavier refuse in this solitary space. And my reflection in the toaster is distorted, strange and thin, a fun house housing of the girl I once knew I was with. She makes no eye contact, she just fades into the shine of a polished metal surface that was never really mine. I wear the same clothes from the day before, and then again a uniform of stillness, a protest from within against the expectation that I'll wash and start anew, when every single effort feels like one I'll never do. The plants you left are dying, I can't seem to make them care. Their wilting is a language that I'm learning to despair. In fluently, each yellow leaf, each stem that goes to bend is just another testament to a neglected end. And my reflection in the toaster is just small and strange and thin, the funhouse version of the girl I once knew I was with. She makes no eye contact, she just fades into the shine of a Polish metal surface that was never really mine. Keep settling, let the garbage truck roll through. I'll be the curator of this decaying lonely zoo, where the main attraction's apathy and all the cages hold is is the quiet, growing certainty that I am growing old. In my reflection in the toaster, nurse disposed, strange and thin, a fun households and of the girls I once knew I was within. She makes no eye contact, she just fades into the shine of a Polish metal set first that was never really mine. That was never really mine. A sign, a line I can't define. I've started reading horoscopes for signs I know are fake. A desperate, superstitious effort for my own heart's sake, to find a line that mentions reconnection, oral flame, and pin my shattered hopes upon the letters of your name. I check the weather radar for the city where you live, as if a storm there could be something I could forgive you for, that a sunny day could lessen my own rain, a pointless private magic to alleviate the pain. And the tea leaves in the bottom of my cup just spell alone, a Rorschach test of broken things, and on a porcelain throne I constort 1,000 oracles and pay whatever price to hear one false prediction that our story would be nice. I've laid the cards out on the table, a spread of foolish grace. The tower and the ten of swords are staring back my face. The lover's card is upside down, a bitter mocking sight, confirming what I knew was true in the dead of night. That fate is just a story we tell to ease the blow of choices that we made ourselves so very long ago. To love the wrong person, to build on shifting sand, to offer up a naked heart into an empty hand. And the tea leaves in the bottom of my cup just spell alone, a Rorschach test of broken things upon a porcelain throne. I constort 1,000 oracles and pay whatever price to hear one false prediction that our story would be nice. State, reading omens in the ordinary, sealing my own fate with every superstitious, frantic, hopeful little glance at a universe that never gave our fragile love chance. And the tea leaves in the boredom of my cup just fell alone. A rose-jack test of broken things upon a porcelain throne. I'd constort 1,000 oracles and pay whatever price to hear one false prediction that our story would be nice. That our story would be nice. Once or twice suffice to pay the price. I've begun to talk in past tense when I speak about this place. That was the chair he loved, I say, a ghost upon my face. This was the window where he'd watch the storm clouds rolling in. A museum guide to ruins where the past is wearing thin. I give the silent tours to no one, pointing out the spots where a kiss was given, where a foolish dream was caught and held for just a moment, like a firefly in a jar, before it dimmed and vanished, leaving just the scar. And the echoes are the only visitors I retain. They wander through the rooms but have no wish to leave. They stay and amplify it, the silence and the dust, a permanent collection of a broken Saxophone. I've labeled all the artifacts with dates that have no weight. The summer of the whispered hope, the autumn of the hate. I polish them with memory until they almost gleam with a light that isn't present, just a solitary dream. The gift shop of my heart is empty, nothing left to sell but postcards of the emptiness, a lonely lingering smell of what was once a fragrance, now just notes of stale regret on shelves that no one browses, in a room the sun forgets. And the echoes are the only visitors I receive. They wander through the roosing but have no wish to leave. They stay and amplify it, the silence and the dust, a permanent collision of a broken sacred trust. So I'll keep the doors wide open to a street where no one comes. I'll be the docent of these ever silencing drums of a love that built a monument and then escape the frame, leaving me to whisper out its unremembered name. And the ochres are the only visitors I receive. find your hair still clinging to the brush inside the drawer. Find stubborn filaments from a life that is no more. I wind them round my finger in a morbid tiny band, a ring of what is ended in this unforgiving land. I've started keeping tally on the inside of the door of every single morning I have woken to this war. I'm missing you, the marks are small, a prisoner's own count of days spent in a cell with a diminishing amount of hope for any pardon, for a sunlight on the floor that isn't just a visitor that slips beneath the door and leaves again by afternoon, a traitor to the cause of lifting any shadow from these unrelenting jaws. And the calendar is blank now, just a grid of empty squares. No birthday circle, no dates in to mark as ours, no airs of celebration lingering, just the flat and endless now, a desert of the ordinary with no S's anyhow. The clock is just a circle that it tirelessly repeats, dragging its slow hands across my solitary feet, of getting through an hour and then one more again, a marathon of stillness where I'll never ever win. I polish all the surfaces until they shine like bone, reflecting back a version of myself that's all alone in every angle, every curve, a house of mirrored grief where the only thing that's multiplied is my disbelief. And the calendar is blank now, just a grid of empty score. No birthday circle, no dates to mark as ours, no air of celebration lingering, just the flat and endless now, a desert of the ordinary with no oasis anyhow. So I'll win the hairs, I'll make the marks, I'll polish the despair. I'll be the archivist of this thin and threadbare air, documenting absence in its most minute design, until the record's finished and the keeper can resign. And the calendar is blank now, just a grid of empty square. No birthday circle, no date to mark as ours, no airs of celebration lingering, just the flat and endless now, a desert of the ordinary with no oasis anyhow. impressed by the weather in the sky. The sunny days seem like a lie, a bright and cruel goodbye to what we were, our favorite now. The ones with clouded grays, where our smiles look uncertain, lost in haze. The rainy day we danced in puddles, laughing cold and wet. Now just a study in the art of things we can't forget but wish we could. The sunbeam slicing through your hair seems staged and false, a setup for a deep end of despair. We am is a weapon of a climate that has died. Each snapshot of frontier where our warmth was denied. I'd burn the sunny pictures, let the ashes drift like snow. But the stormy ones are true, and it's hard to let them go. I've studied every shadow, every squint against the light, trying to diagnose the illness, find the blight that was growing in the garden of our happily ever after, turning joyful smiles into strain, sad laughter. The forecast for our future was 100% chance of pain, with high pressure fronts of silence moving in across the plane of our conversations. I can read the symbols now, the gathering dark behind your brow, the why, the how, and the end is a wet up of a climate that has died. Each snapshot of frontier where our warmth was denied. I burn the sunny pictures, let the ashes drift like snow. But the stormy ones are true, and it's hard to let them go. So I'll be the meteorologist of this emotional decay, tracking every high and low of our yesterday, issuing no warnings, for the storm is past and fled, leaving just the damp and cold inside my heart and head. And the arm is a weapon of a climate that has died. It's snapshot of frontier where our warmth was denied. I burned the sunny pictures, let the ashes drift like snow. But the stormy ones are true, and it's hard to let them go. And it's hard to let them go. So I'll watch the show of our personal zero. I've begun transcribing conversations that we'll never have, on empty pages with a pen that's running out of sound. I write your lines in faded ink, a hesitant thin script, my own replies are bolder from a confidence that's stripped away by years of silence. I ask the questions that I fear and give you the perfect answers I so desperately have jeered myself for needing. It's a play in one long lonely act where the dialogue is perfect and every single fact is manufactured to avoid the messy, painful truth that we were never poets in the bold, uncensored youth of our connection. We were mumbling, fragile and unkind, and the script I'm writing now is just a comfort for my mind. And the pages, they are paling in a leaning secretary. I'm on into what ifs that wither by the hour. I mail them to your doorstep, but the address is unknown, and the return is always to this empty single zone. Single zone. I write the happy ending on a crisp and separate sheet, then fold it into origami, something fragile, bittersweet. A paper bird that cannot fly, a frog that will not jump, a token for a future that's collapsed into a lump of wasted wishful thinking. I file it with the rest in a cabinet labeled dreams that failed the simple test of reality. The drawer is full, the lock is growing weak from the weight of all the futures I am too afraid to speak. And the pages, they are paling in a leaning secretary, a monument to what ifs I'd wither by the hour. I'd mail them to your doorstep, but the address is unknown, and the return is always to this empty single zone. Single zone. To this empty single zone where so I'll be the playwright of this never-ending might have been, filling reams with dialogue that no one else has seen, a silent scribbling archivist of a love that lost its voice until the final page is written, and I have no other choice. And the page they'll find and on be a thing said on an end to what ifs that wither by the hour. I mail them to your doorstep, but the address is unknown, and the return is always to this empty single zone. To this empty single zone where I've grown. Oh, and so I've started naming spiders in the corners of the room. Charlotte on the ceiling, weaving shadows in the gloom. Another by the baseboard, I have christened in despair. there. They are my only tenants in this house that's grown so wide. Since you vacated all the spaces that you lived inside, I watch their patient movements, how they mend what comes undone. A lesson in persistence neath a cold and distant sun. And the covers are released now on the picture frames and lamps, a filigree of neglect and white day beneath damps. I sweep them all away, but they become a part of me, a silken net of memory that no one else can see. I feed them flies of regret that buzz inside my head, little winged reminders of the cruel things you said, or didn't say. The spiders, take them without a sound and wrap them into parcels, put them down upon the ground of my consciousness to store for some imagined leaner time when I'll need the poison, when I'll need the grime to remind me why I'm sitting in this slowly gathering dust and practicing a patience that is closer to disgust. And the car was always now on the picture frames and lamps, a filigree of neglect and white they beneath damps. I sweep them all away, but they become a part of me, a silken net of memory that no one else can see. So I'll be the arachnid of this solitary keep, spinning private tapestries from the promises I weep. Heartbroken, I'll let the gossamer and the shadows intertwine until this whole sad house is yours and yours is mine. And the cowboys are released now on the picture frames and lamps, filigree of neglect and white day beneath damps. And I sweep them all away, but they become a part of me, a silken net of memory that no one else can see, that no one else can see, just me and the we of what used to be. Started taking inventory of the echoes in this hall, cataloging every shadow that's too stubborn lost completely. I had numbers for them all, echoed on with 12 your whistle, echo 43 your call. I measure their duration with a stopwatch in my soul, noting how some fade quickly while others take their toll, and linger in the corners, in the spaces between sounds, like the shape of your absence on these unfamiliar grounds. And the list is getting longer with each passing silent day, a library of nothings, oh, that I can't throw away. I'd recall them all to tape, but the tape would just rewind to the moment you pity, yeah, the empty space behind. The loudest echo isn't sound, it's just the way the air stays utterly untroubled by the fact you're never there. To breathe it, it's the echo of a presence, not a voice, the phantom of a heartbeat that has left me with no choice but to listen to the hollow, to the perfect still design of a world that's lost its resonance, its texture and its spine. The echoes are the architecture now, the beams and the supports of a life that's built on whispers and on faint retreating reports. Oh, and the list is getting longer with each passing silent day, a library of nothings, oh, that I can't throw away. I'd recall them all to tape, but the tape would just rewind to the moment you pity, oh, the empty space behind. So I'll be the archivist of silence, of the gone, labeling each emptiness from dusk until the dawn, a curator of vacuums in a museum of one, until the final echo fades and my sad work is done. And the list is getting longer with each passing silent day, a library of nothings, oh, that I can't throw away. I'd record them all to tape, but the tape would just rewind to the moment you pity, but the empty space started taking inventory of the echoes in this hall, cataloging every shadow that's too stubborn to fall into the past completely. I have numbers for them all. Echo on the 12, your whistle. Echo, weave 3, your call. I measure their duration with a stopwatch in my soul, noting how some fade quickly while others take their toll and linger in the corners, in the spaces between sounds, like the shape of your absence on these unfamiliar grounds. And the rest is getting longer with each passing silent day, a library of nothing that I can't throw away. I'd record them all to tape it, but the tape would just rewind to the moment you breathe, the empty space behind. The loudest echo isn't sound, it's just the way the air stays utterly untroubled by the fact you're never there. To breathe it, it's the echo of a presence, not a voice, the phantom of a heartbeat that has left me with no choice but to listen to the hollow, to the perfect still design of a world that's lost its resonance, its texture and its spine. The echoes are the architecture now, the beams and the supports of a life that's built on whispers and on faint retreating reports. And the lease is getting longer with each passing silent day, a library of nothing that I can't throw away. I'd recall them all to tape, but the tape would just rewind to the moment you peek, the empty space behind. So I'll be the archivist of silence of the gone, labeling each emptiness from dusk until the dawn, a curator of vacuums in a museum of one, until the final echo fades and my sad work is done. And the rest is getting longer with each passing silent day, a library of nothing that I can't throw away. I'd recall them all to tape it, but the tape would just rewind to the moment you breathe, the empty space behind. The empty space behind, where I find my mind unkind. I've started mapping wrinkles on the backside of my hands, a topography of worry drawn on these forgotten lands. Each line a little river where the tears have made their course, a testament to loving with a diminished fading force. I trace the veins that stand out blue against the paling skin, highways of a loneliness that settle deep within. They lead to nowhere pleasant, just a hollow pumping chord that used to to send its bounty to a love that is no more. And the mirror shows the canyons around my tired eyes, eroded by the webbing of our sorrows and our lies. I fill them with for drink, but the sand is always shifting, and the land's free of my face now is just another gift you're drifting. Just another gift you're trading. I've studied the geography of where your touch once fell, the plains of my shoulders where your comfort used to dwell. Now they're just cold plateaus exposed to a bitter wind, the whispers of a summer it can never come again. The mountains of my knuckles tense and permanently curled, as if still holding on to the ruins of a world that slip right through my fingers like the finest sifted dust, leaving just this weathered map of whom I can and cannot trust. And the mirror shows the canyons around my tired eyes, eroded by the webbing of our sorrows and our lies. I'd fill them with forgetting, but the sand is always shifting, and the land's view to my face now is just another gift you're drifting. Just another gift you're drifting. So I'll be the cartographer, the saging worn terrain, drawing lines of sorrow, etching valleys of old pain, a surveyor of the damages that time cannot erase, the lonely living atlas of your vanished silent grace. Another gift you're drifting. Just another gift you're drifting. Just another gift you're drifting. Away, sifting through the day, lifting nothing. I've begun translating my sighs into a foreign ancient tongue, a guttural and mournful dirge from when the world was young, and love was just a sharper kind of hunger or of thirst, a brutal simple feeling that could either bless or curse. I conjugate the aching in a tense that has no name, past that never whole again. The grammar is all broken, the syntax comes undone. In the speaking of a sorrow that can never see the sun. And the dictionary's pages all torn and stained with tears. Its definition circles back to all my primal fears. Of being left, of being less, of being this alone. The only word I master now is carved in blood and bone. I write it on the walls at night in alphabets of suit, a cryptic, frantic message that can't bear a living fruit of understanding. It's a scream disguised as poetry, a plea for absolution that will never come to me. The Rosetta Stone for this dead text is buried in your chest, in the chamber where you kept your love and gave it all a rest. I dig with clumsy, wordless hands and find no artifact, just the echoing of silence and the devastating fact. And the dictionary's pages all torn and stained with tears. Each definition circled straight back to all my primal fears. I've been in left, I've been in less, I've been in this alone. The only word I master now is carved in blood and bone. So I'll be the linguist of this lost, this solitary speech, giving voice to voiceless pain on a far and distant beach, where no one hears the language, where the tide just wipes it clean. Scholar of the void and what the void can mean. And the dictionary's pages are all torn and stained with tears. These definitions circles back to all my primal fears. Of being left, of being less, of being this alone. The only word I master now is carved in blood and bone, is carved in blood and bone, is carved in blood and bone. My own, a stone, a moan. I've started interviewing the dust motes in the air, asking where they came from, if they saw you standing there in that slant of afternoon light, in that particular way, before you chose to turn your back and go away. no answers to offer on their fragile floating wings. They settle on the furniture, on the memories we made. A silent drifting audience to the mess that love decayed. And the silence is clad on a leather chair I keep. I ask addicted questions while it falls asleep. It pays me in the currency of empty endless time. The therapy preached for nothing in this sad and sublime. In this sad and sublime. I take notes on the patterns of the shadows as they creep across the carpet. Promises they're too exhausted to keep. Of staying, of remaining, of defining any space. They just elongate, vanish without leaving any trace. Like you did, I analyze the angle of their fall, trying to derive a meaning, find a reason for it all. But the shadows are just physics, and my heart is just a fool, playing scientist with broken, sentimental tools. In the silence is a glue on a leather chair I keep. I ask it to question while it falls asleep. It pays me in the currency of empty endless time. A therapist for nothing in this sad and sublime. Sad and sublime. So I'll file the case as hopeless, as a mystery unsolved. I'll watch the dust most settle where our story has evolved into this quiet archaeology. I'll close the office door on a practice built on asking what I'm even looking for. And the silence is a clip on a leather chair I keep. I ask it to question while it falls asleep. It pays me the currency of empty